Okay, welcome everyone. So we're going to talk about goal setting today, which I'm excited about. I hope that you got a chance to listen to my audio messages this morning. Before we jump into that, I just want to do a really quick exercise, a sort of bit of a self-awareness exercise around procrastination, which has been a theme for me today because I've been doing a tedious, I'm writing this book, as you guys know, and I love the writing process, but there's a lot of work when you're writing a book around structure and form because especially when you're writing to a publisher's brief, there are very specific word count restrictions. So the way that it works is that you sign the deal, but the deal is very specific around like the introduction is this many words, this chapter is this many words, this section is XYZ words. And the way I tend to work is much more organic, where I'll just kind of like write until it feels like the idea is done and then start the next part. So there's a lot of me trying to like fit my stuff into the framework that they give me, which is all good, it's fine, but that part I don't love. It's like a lot of work and it's quite tedious. So I've literally been doing anything but doing that. I started cleaning out the freezer this afternoon. Often for me, because I work from home, it will often be housework that I'll do, which is sort of, housework has to be done as well. So it's not like I'm like watching TV or something, but I know when I'm procrastinating, I know when I'm just delaying. So I wanted to just have a quick open mic and ask you to identify what is one or two of your big procrastination tendencies, because it's just useful to kind of put it out there. And also it might make you feel better. Liz.
When I saw your message on Instagram, your stories, I instantly double tapped it because it made me feel like I'm not the only one. But I also wanted to untap because I was like, oh no, I'm supposed to be doing homework. Obviously, I'm sitting here on stories, liking Katie's stories. But you sharing that was so helpful to me. My house it's a good sign that my house is a shambles at the moment, because I've been getting a lot of work done. But today was all about the laundry. I was enjoying it. I was loving it because your questions for me today, I guess, is my version of you and your book. It was just like, wow, these are the hardest questions ever. Like goals, 5-year plan. And I was just like, oh, I'm going to go do some laundry, and time was ticking so quick. And yeah, I feel exactly the same. Everything else is so easy to do when I've got to focus. I work at home as well, when I've got to focus on creating and I feel some sort of blockage or stress around it, all the housework gets done. So yeah. I relate 100%.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing. And we'll come back to that thing around goals, because I actually think in your original survey, you laid out some pretty clear goals, and some of those are long-term goals. So it might not be as hard as you think. We'll come back to it. Anyone else? We won't go through everyone, but anyone else got a procrastination habit they'd like to share with the group? Anyone want to admit to a procrastination tendency?
This is going to sound a little bit whack, but I feel like my procrastination tendency is to start another project. Yes. I have a lot of projects right now.
Yeah. So you don't do the thing that you know that you have to do, that is, especially when it's the thing that is like, I think there's different procrastinations, right? There's procrastination because it's boring, which is what I'm doing with the book at the moment. It's just like a task that has to be done and it's quite repetitive. And then there's procrastination because it's confronting or hard. And so when it's confronting and hard, like for me, I'm so much better at it now, but it always used to be stuff around sales that I hated. And so I would then just do other things in my business, which would make me feel like I was doing stuff like, I know, I'll redesign this website page or, whatever. But then you're not doing the thing that you actually really need to do.
Yeah. And of course, laundry as well. Laundry is always a big one. Laundry and dishes for everyone.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah, all of those. Starting another project, but when I'm at home, it can tend to be the laundry or the dishwasher or something like that. But I do find it actually helps me clear my head a bit, just the movement. as long as it's something quick. But like today I was at the office and I've got a priority of submitting some copy for National Reconciliation Week. But I was working on the cultural awareness fact sheet and the summary of Voice to Parliament instead. But I often do it. And I think in some ways it's my brain just says, just give me a break and I'll work on it for you. It usually always gets done, but it's a bit scary at times when you can't seem to focus on what you think you should be focusing on. Oh, and I didn't get to have a listen to your voicemail, things on goals yet. Yeah,
you can catch up on that and you'll catch the gist today. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That I can relate to that too. I love to do other things, especially when there's a deadline looming, and then I just get closer and closer to the deadline. I'm like, okay, I really need to prioritize the deadline thing, but I'm not. Alrighty, let's jump in. So goals. I'd love to do a general check-in today. I do want to touch base with you guys and see just how you're going, how you feel things are progressing. I'd love to hear what you think you've achieved so far and whether or not it's more or less than what you would have hoped at this point. I think that's a really valuable check-in, not in a judgmental way towards yourself, just in a, how am I tracking? And then I want to talk about goals. My invitation is that you share a goal that you have to have completed by the end of this program, a goal or a vision for a 1-year plan. Like it can be quite loose. And you can think about 5-year plan. So I'll go first, just to give you an idea of how how I'm thinking about this. And this is something I do a lot in my own work. Like it's really, this is, the reason goal setting is so incredibly important when you're really just working for yourself and with yourself is that you have to keep yourself accountable. And this is why it ties in so closely to the procrastination question. Like it's so easy to just keep coasting and you won't reach the milestones you want to reach. And I'll tell you for myself so clearly. So Bhakti Rose, the online incarnation of my business, is 3 years old right now. It just turned 3. And the first year of my business, I was so used to running bricks and mortar yoga studios, which are very, very different to an online business. And I was in a big learning curve of how to turn my business successfully online. I didn't really understand that I needed to have a plan and a strategy. And I didn't understand how marketing can build on itself. And, how if people start with a small offer, they're more likely to buy a bigger offer and all that type of thing, which I now understand. So a lot of it was me just figuring it all out. But I was very vague with my goals. I was like, okay, I'm going to run this program at this time. And I'm going to run, this special offer at this time. But I never attached any numbers to anything. And I didn't really have a way of assessing whether or not something had been successful. Then year 2, I did a course with Leonie Dawson. I shared some of her stuff with Edwina and Annika today. If you can hear background noise, it's just the rain. It's super loud. And I love her. She's a really great, inexpensive teacher and online. I'll write her name in the chat, Leonie Dawson. She runs online trainings for things like how to run an online course or how to master sales, things like that. So I did a training with her and she was obsessed with goals, like micro goals, macro goals, basically everything you did, you had to set a goal. And it was too much for me, but it really got me into the mindset of that. And so now I feel like I've got a good balance. I've gone from doing hardly any to doing really too many. And now it's I'm somewhere in the middle and it works really well. So when I'm doing a promotion around something, let's use Annika as an example because she's about to do Mindful May. If Mindful May was my project, what I would do is I would have, let's say, maybe 3 or 4 goals in mind for that project. And some of them would be goals that I can control because then it's on you to make it happen. And then some of them are goals around numbers that you can't control, like sales, right? But I can tell you something. There's some magic in when you have a very specific number in mind, it just comes together. I don't know how that works. Like Edwina and I said for India retreat, we're going to get between 8 and 12 people, and we've got 8 people. Like it just something about when you just have, and we'll probably get 12 by the time it's not till January of next year, but when you have those numbers in mind, I can't tell you how many times I've had the experience of, I'll say, okay, 20, I see 20, and then that's what happens, or whatever it might be. I'm just going to get you guys to mute for a sec, just because there's a little bit of background noise. Okay, so let's go back to Mindful May. So I might, if I was Annika, I might have a goal of, I'm going to write 3 emails of like promotional emails. So that's a goal I can be in charge of, right? I'm going to send 3 emails, and they'll all be different, and they'll all promote it somehow. Now they could be emails that go out promoting the free offering, which is Mindful May, or they could be emails that go out after Mindful May to sell something to the people that did it. Doesn't matter where they go, but my goal is I'm going to write 3 or 5 or whatever it might be, good quality emails. Then you might have another goal around numbers in the free group. She might say, you know, I want 100 people in the free group in the Facebook group, keeping in mind, and this is really important, that with numbers around anything, that you'll always get a percentage that don't engage. So you need to expect this and not be sad when that happens, okay? Like I always say to yoga teachers, when they first start teaching, if you teach a course or a series, people will drop off. It's normal. So don't be sad if you start your beginner's course with 20 and you finish with 15. That's really, really normal. People don't, it's not for everyone. And a lot of people struggle with commitment and, you know, say they want to do something and then end up not doing it, like all of us. So don't take that personally. So a goal around numbers, and then you might also have maybe a goal around income. I want it to make X amount of money. Usually when I personally work with income goals, which I do sometimes, especially I've done some of the Rachel Rogers challenges. She does a $10,000 challenge where you can do it either in 10 days or 30 days. I usually don't put a specific, like, it's not like I'm going to make this money by selling this thing. I'll just have the idea in my mind of like, this is the amount of money I want to make this month, or I want to pay off. Often I'll do it with, if I want to sign up for a course or a training or something myself, I'll say, okay, I'll sign up for it when I've made the money for it. Like I have to discipline myself to actually make the money. And then I won't say, oh, it has to be through sales of Ayurveda Goddess, or it has to be through sales of this promotion. It's just in this amount of time, I want to make this much money. And then I'm quite like free around how that happens, because with the goals, you've got to build in a bit of flexibility. Like you can't just sort of, if it's too rigid, it feels claustrophobic. But if you don't have any, it's too vague. So let's see how we go. Who wants to jump in first? And, you know, it could be that you don't have goals in mind for all 3. But as I said, the invitation is by the end of the training, first year, 5 years. Don't all jump in at once. Liz.
I made some notes. Otherwise, I would definitely be babbling and babbling. So my goal for by the end of this course, which is in 5 weeks, is a completed website that I'm proud of, containing all of my offerings. Photography, photo packages for conscious businesses, brands, influencers within the wellness, fitness, healing, yoga, artists, movers and shakers world. I would have also emailed 20 businesses with an opt-in, which I need help with. I'm really confused by opt-ins. I will also have my online store set up, which I've had before, so it's not too hard for me to do. I do have some current affiliate partnerships, which I don't put out there, which is ridiculous because when I do, it's money, but I don't have it out there. So I'll have them loaded onto my online store, as well as 5 other brands. I'm not going to invest in purchasing stock and storing it. I'm going to arrange some sort of like a drop shipping arrangement where I allow them to sell, or I sell their product through my website, but they post and send. So something around that I've got to work out. Also vintage clothes, wellness products and daily sadhana products. I'll also have my yoga section, which will be, and thanks to Annika for letting me know about the one-on-ones, having a website to explain myself more on. I'll have my one-on-ones package and a video introducing myself and my offerings as a one-on-one personal beginner yoga teacher. I'm completely reviewing my prices and everything after everyone saw my brochure, and my blog, which supports all of the above. So a place to excite, entice and awake the reader and consumer, and 3 blog posts up within 5 weeks, as well as a solid marketing plan initiated for all 3 offerings. Email opt-in actioned and planned for e-newsletters. So that's my 5. That's what I'm doing
amazing.
in the next 5
That's
weeks.
a lot. That's a lot. But I'm right that you're working on this full time. Is that correct? Pretty much. You're teaching, but you've got, you did say you have quite a lot of time to give.
This is my full-time job for the next 5 weeks besides teaching.
Yeah. Okay, good. So that it's a lot, but I think it's doable. I would say the casual addition of and the marketing plan at the end there is probably one thing too many. So I'd probably knock that off and think about that as a second phase at the end of the 5 weeks. But I think everything else I think you can do, because you're working really hard, and I'm watching you working really hard. So that's awesome. If you keep up your momentum, you're on track. The other reason I'm inviting you to wait with the marketing plan is you'll get a clearer idea of exactly what and how you want to market as you build the website. So yeah, I would just say that's probably one thing too many at this point. That's amazing. That's awesome.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? Edwina.
So I have not really gotten that clear on my goals, on my specific goals yet. I've got lots of things that I want to do and execute. I think I've already really accomplished one of the goals, which was to set Shakti Creative up as its own little brand and its own business. So I've done that, set the landing page up, done the Instagram account. So yeah, I haven't got really specific, but the short term, by the end of this, I would hope to have built a little bit more out in that sort of area and gained, I guess, the numbers. I'd love to sell 5 of my $99 packages by the end of these sort of 5 weeks. So 1 a week would be amazing. And then that's those 5 people that I'm working with to hopefully sell up to the bigger packages and sort of have them in my community. And I think that, yeah, I've got like a big list, as I said before. I've got a list of all these things that I want to do to really focus on now, just like getting my businesses out in front of more people. That's the big goal at the end of these 5 weeks, is to have, got my Facebook ads happening, booked in live. So I've got, for both businesses, I want to book in 3 lives by the end of April with other brands. I've booked 1 in today, which is awesome already. And I'm also looking at some collaborations as well. So it's just school holidays. It's just been a little bit all over the place. So I'm sort of working in 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there sort of thing. So I haven't really got a good mind map and a good goal thing happening, but I've got a big list and I've got all the things. And I did a bit of a mind map today. And, I think with my yoga and Ayurveda, I really want to focus on Ayurveda Flourish, the 12-week online coaching program, as like my signature program for that, and then really focus on the funnel and getting more people into that funnel with my ads, with referrals, with, all of those sorts of things. So yeah, I've got a bit of work to do on my specific goals, but that's sort of, I guess, a broad idea. That makes sense.
Beautiful. And what, Edwina, what's your Ayurvedic dominant dosha?
Pitta.
Yeah, I think of you as Pitta, but recently I've seen a lot more Vata, and I'll tell you how I notice it. Like, and I mean this as a big compliment. Like, this isn't, but I love Vata.
Yeah.
Is because it's interesting with you. I think you might have quite an even balance of Pitta and Vata. So the Pitta is like very directioned, very responsive, very quick. Like, you know, you do my social media, a lot of my social media, and when we're back and forth, it's like two Pittas on fire. Like we just smash stuff out and get it done so efficiently, which is why we work together so well. However, what I am noticing now as I'm getting to know you more and more is bigger picture stuff is much more governed by Vata with you. Like you're very Pitta in the micro or the mid row, but when it gets bigger, the Pitta sort of dissipates into like a Vata creative, more, less directioned vibe. Is that, does that seem fair? Does that seem right to you?
Yeah, I do feel that I get to a point where I topple and I get that really overwhelmed. And then I need to sort of, and I think that's got a lot to do with just having, you know, so much to do at home as well with the kids and everything. And I noticed that a lot more in the school holidays. I just get really, I get really ungelled in that regard. But
it's not necessarily, I never ever see you dropping a ball or being disorganized. It's not that. It's just more like multiple ideas and sort of like it's less like direction. Even the nature of your business, that you've got 4 or 5 different branches to your business, that's very Vata too. Like that's where my Vata comes in my business as well, right? Like it's not just one thing. Like there's yoga of birth and Ayurveda goddess, and now there's business coaching. Like this is Vata energy. People who are truly Pitta, it's like one thing. So I don't know, that's just an observation. I actually am quite similar myself, and that's why the specific goal, like the goal setting, has been so helpful for me. So I think it would really benefit you, and maybe wait till the end of school holidays. I'm not saying do it today, to attach some numbers. Like I love that you said 5 by the end of this training for the Shakti Creative deal. I think that's very doable. And I think if you set it, see, here's the thing that we all do with goals. If we go, oh, I'd love that, or that would be great, or, you know, but instead of, I'm going to make that happen. So, you know, it's like, there's an energy difference there. So I think, I think 5 by the end is amazing. And then, you know, some Instagram lives, like you said, getting the Facebook ads up. But just, I think for you, I already said to you, the focus on getting your offers in front of more eyes. And with that, give it some numbers. And it doesn't have to be money numbers or even numbers of bookings, although I do like the 5 by the end. I think that's really manageable. But just like X number of, you know, things I'm going to, Instagram lives I'm going to do, or people I'm going to speak to, or that kind of thing. I have written a list of people that I'm going to reach out to for collaborations and lives. So I have got that far. And then, I just haven't sort of brought it in all together and gone, okay, that's what I'm doing. It's sort of all these, like that Vata energy, all these ideas and numbers and things and people and all of that. And then I had to rush off and get the kids. So that's definitely, where my head's at. But it's been good today to really sort of like think about those specific goals, and they're definitely there, and just like sort of bring everything in and sort of go, okay, I'm just going to focus on getting those 5 deals done, and then focus on getting these lives and these collaborations done, sort of thing. So just sort of, bringing it right in and just being really specific. Yes, darling.
Is it banana bread?
It's a banana bread, all right.
Is it banana bread?
Yes, darling. There you go. See what I mean? Oh gosh. Is it banana? Yeah, because things go moldy here. Not banana bread, gets eaten too quick. Anyway, so that's been really good today to sort of bring those sort of things and just really zone in on actually thinking about some more tangible things, because I usually set like, and it's interesting that you said that, because I do usually set monetary goals. It's always like, I'm going to have this much in sales, and that's very much ingrained in me from working in retail and teaching that and training that for so many years in HR and retail. So you know, these are the sales figures, but it's more about breaking it down, I guess, into those sort of it's really like those key performance indicators, you know, and we talk in that sort of more traditional sales sort of tracking way. So yeah, looking at those, other non-negotiables as well. So they're sort of setting the emails, doing all the things. So yeah, it's been good.
Beautiful. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bryony.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for your feedback as well with the artwork. You've been a great help. Yeah, so I'm a little bit, I've got goals, actually. I'll read them out. So by the end of this, hopefully I've finished the artwork and I've got some socials up and running along with a website. That would be great. Because it's online, I think that I can email, you know, international spas from New Zealand, from Bali. But for now, I will email 10 Australian spas. And in 6 months, I aim to have one group of girls, 5 or 6 girls every fortnight. And in a year, I would like 12 to 15 girls signing up every week with me. So, and then moving into a 5-year plan, I would like to actually help HR workers with wellness, not so much, or not only spa girls, but wellness for workers in HR too. So that's what I would be aiming for.
I love it. Super clear. So good. And
I don't have money goals particularly.
They'll come because you've got your numbers, and then once you do your pricing, which you're not sure about yet, so it makes sense that you don't have the money goal yet. But once you do your pricing, you attach that to your numbers. And actually, it's a lovely way around to do it, because then it's not sort of like you're just grasping for the money. It's like, actually, you know what your capacity is, how many you serve, who you want to serve, and then you attach the money onto that. It works beautifully to do it that way around.
Yeah.
When you say email the spas, you like, we talked about the way
reach out.
Yeah. So not
Personally.
just emailing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were also talking in your numbers there about individual women or individual girls, but it's more like
it's a package, but just a group, you know, not an individual. So I don't want one girl. I want a group of girls from a spa.
Yes.
And I don't want that less than sort of 4 girls, you know.
So
I would work up.
Yeah. So think about maybe just creating packages for the number of girls, and then it's like 4-person package, 10-person package.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think the next step for you probably is starting to think about pricing and about but you know what, I had an idea this morning, I think I mentioned it briefly on WhatsApp, that for you, I think what would actually be really helpful as a first step, even before that, is to speak to a couple of people who work in HR and actually talk to them about what their pain points are and what kind of package would work for them. I don't know if there's a way that you can do that, if you can serve.
I've got plenty of friends who work in HR.
Do that then. That's got to be the starting point. So maybe your micro goal before even emailing and reaching out is to do those types of surveys or interviews and just capture the information that you're going to need to make sure the offers that you're making make sense for them.
Perfect.
But I love it. I love that it's so specific. It's awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. So Janina's sharing that she, by the end of the course, would like to have implemented will have implemented her email marketing, including a free offering, that she will have started the course and that she'll have 4 participants. I love that. And by the end of the year, taught the program 3 times, online and offline, created an online passive version of the course to join anytime. 21 participants online, 15 offline. I love it. So specific. And 21 by the end of the year, so manageable. It's like, I love that these numbers are, you know, they're numbers that we can get our head around. Created retreats and made a book. I think you can be more ambitious for your 5-year plan. It's really interesting with goal setting. Very commonly, this is like a common phenomena. We are way too ambitious with our short-term goals and nothing like ambitious enough with our long-term goals. So just keep that in mind. That's human nature. That's not like, that's just what we tend to do. I definitely think that you can think about creating retreats within 1 year or 2 years. You know, I think that's more than doable for you. One thing I would say, and we can talk about this if this is of interest to others, I know Edwina is interested in this too, is creating a passive version that people can sign up at any time is getting harder and harder to market. Like both my signature programs, Ayurveda Goddess and Yoga of Birth, are like evergreen, meaning people can sign up at any time. I feel like more and more people want the interactive experience. So I'm just going to put that out there for those of you who are designing new things or projecting what you want to build for the future. I'm not saying it can't be evergreen or passive in the sense that they get some recordings and they get some content that's been pre-made. But I think when there's no live component, whether that's virtual or in person, it's much harder to sell because people are, we talked about this before, people are overloaded with consuming content. That's beautiful. Thank you. And then Mihaela is saying that by the end of the program, she'll have a crystal clear idea on what the business model might look like and what the unique problem is that she's solving. Love that. By the end of the year, a small program that works and is tested that will build trust, a small community which will in turn act as a gateway into the bigger program offering, along with a golden opt-in and email collection. And then 5 years, a successful tested yoga program implemented into 2 large companies along with small. I'm going to definitely invite you to make those longer term goals bigger. Like, I think you could have done your 5-year plan by the end of this year. A successful tested yoga program implemented into 2 large companies along with a smaller individual offering. I mean, I definitely think you could do that within a year. Does everyone agree? Yeah. So I think your short-term goal is amazing. And my invitation, Mihaela, to you is to fast track your 5-year plan, really, because I think, yeah, definitely that can be quicker. Oh, and Janina's also saying after 5 years, create a follow-up. Yeah, again, same for you. I think you can do a lot more in 5 years than you think. And probably for many of us less in a short amount of time, but 5 years is a long time. You can do a lot in 5 years if you're focused and you stay in your lane. Beautiful. Thank you. Who'd like to go next?
I'll jump in.
Okay.
Now, mine's quite a bit different in terms of I'm not working to a plan per se. And I think we'd set a basic goal at our first consultation of exploring for 1 year all of the opportunities that are available to me. So I'm a Wayapa work practitioner, but I have a part-time role as a reconciliation action coordinator. So there is a melding there of the two things. I think probably my 5-year plan definitely is to not be in that paid role by the end of the 5 years, at the very least. So I think, as we talked about, Katie, it was the networking and opportunities for connection through my First Nations colleagues and other Wayapa work practitioners. So I think by the end of the program, I just want to shore up this ability to explore, because otherwise I'm just going to be off all over the place. I'm very Vata. So putting in place almost like a scheduled envisioning time. So a scheduled nature connection time. I definitely want to have set in place, or to have finalised actually, the research around the Celtic flavour of my Wayapa work practice, which is my own, or the majority of my own heritage. So that's probably my primary goal in terms of shifting my work, or for my work. but putting in place a mind map around all this exploration. So to make sure I'm almost like documenting that in a way that I can keep track of at a glance, that's not too onerous. I guess a mind map would probably be easier. But I did think of one thing definitely was a database. I don't have a database set up to easily keep track of all my different contacts and also keep track of conversations had and opportunities talked about and keep it all together like that. So I need to do a bit of research on that as to what would work best for me. So I haven't exactly sort of put that in. That's 1 year and that's 5 years or end of program. Yeah, I'm sort of thinking.
There's a lot more clarity there than I think you had coming in. Like it feels much more targeted and concrete and linear, which is great. So, and I think for you, because you don't have a really clear vision of exactly what you want to launch in terms of business, actually, I think those types of goals are really appropriate. Yeah. So that, to me, that feels really good. It feels like, I love the idea of the mind map. I think that's a great way of keeping the sort of expansive and non-linear nature of the way that you're working at the moment present, but still there's a documentation process and there's something to refer back to. So I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, and I think it'll keep me out of mischief.
Yeah, it'll keep you a bit focused, keep you out of Vata.
Yeah.
Keep your Vata in the air. And then for the database, I wonder if for you, perhaps a spreadsheet might make more sense, like an Excel spreadsheet that has like a few sort of, you know, tabs in it that you can track, because it's not just email addresses or actual data. It's like you said, it's conversations, it's connections, it's opportunities. And so I think it feels like it would be more of a spreadsheet type situation than a database per se.
Yeah, thank you. That might actually be the perfect idea.
Yeah, beautiful. It's so interesting to me, and I almost wish that you'd all been able to sit in on each other's one-to-one sessions, because what's really lovely for me to witness is that all of you are just gaining more and more and more clarity. So even if it feels like you're not necessarily like making leaps and bounds of progress, there's just so much fine-tuning and clarity that's coming almost with every call and every conversation and every interaction. And that's where the gold happens. That's where the real, like, yeah, where the changes happen. So it's lovely. Nikki.
Hey everyone. Firstly, can I say apologies, I'm really not in the WhatsApp at the moment because I'm on holiday. So I'm trying to kind of just keep it really, you know, just to the calls. But I know there's lots going on, so I'll catch up. My goals, so I'm only really just thinking about this, but definitely refreshing the branding. I'm really directing the website more towards the embodied voice confidence work. Still having the yoga as a tab, probably a navigation bar tab, and kind of all of the yoga stuff in there. But really directing more of the SEO keywords, different things like that towards the embodied voice confidence work. The income, like an income goal, I'm doing Profit for Joy with Amber Duggar, and it's a really great program. So it's I've got a spreadsheet now that has, you know, the goals, what I need to earn. So this is more of a cash flow forecasting. So really looking at packages and what's working and what isn't, what I can juggle around, and it's fantastic. So it's all on these, it's kind of like magic dashboard spreadsheet, and as it's worked out, one-to-one per month, signing up for a 6-month program, or they could be for a 3-month, but a one-to-one every month at the current prices that I've just redone the one-to-one page. So that's all set up, and running the group program twice a year. I think it was 12 people twice a year. It could have been more, I can't remember now, but I think it was 12 twice a year, and it's like a longer program, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, that sort of thing. Then I do want to have a continuation of something after the program. I'm not sure what that will be yet, but that could just be simply a monthly call at the moment to keep that continuation going, because I find that that's what happens. People don't get the support ongoing. And then the other thing would be speaking gigs. So kind of going for that and actually crafting a talk and going for speaking gigs, which I've already started to do.
They're going to filter so beautifully into the programs.
Yeah.
I think that's almost your lead magnet, isn't it? You out there doing the speaking gigs then could actually really, really filter people into your programs. Yeah. And it gets me out there doing the thing that I'm teaching about, it's walking your talk as well. So they're the main things. I've got set up sales page by the end of the program, set up sales page for EVC program, the back end, deciding on the timing and everything like that. And my offers, really, this is the next thing actually, just refining really defining what are my offers going to be, I need to keep it simple. I can't do a million things because I will scatter around. So I just need to keep it really focused. It's the coaching, one-to-one coaching, program, group program. It doesn't feel like there's something, I feel like I need an introductory thing for the voice stuff, and that's what I haven't got yet. That could be a workshop webinar, or I know live's great, and we spoke about that last week. Some sort of taster experience, isn't it? It's some kind of just dip your toe in. It's a bit like Edwina's $90 branding package. It's like just have a taste. I do think you need something like that. Even if I pre-record it for now, because with the internet, that's much more reliable, and then it's there. So maybe something like that. That could work. Also with you, I've got in mind, which we didn't really speak about generally, but this is another thing for everyone to think about, as well as setting goals for what you want to do and what you want to say yes to and what you're reaching for. It's sometimes useful to set goals for what you want to move away from. And I know with Nikki, the teaching a lot of regular classes as you evolve in the next year, 5 years, that's definitely something you want to do less of, right? Yeah, that's gone. So that's gone this year. Yeah, good. That's an important part of goal setting too. It's like if you keep falling down a trap, falling into a hole, the same thing. I'm trying to think. I mean, God, I've got so many. What's a good example of one that I do? I don't even know right now. I mean, signing up to do more trainings is one. I really started disciplining myself about a year ago. I was like, I'm not signing up for any more trainings until I finish the one I'm doing. And I got a lot better at finishing because of that. So yeah, it's not just the things you say yes to, it's also the things you say no to and the things you're walking away from. Actually, really obvious one for me is I stopped teaching almost entirely in other people's programs. So I was doing a lot of that, like guest teaching in different, trainings and programs. And I've really pulled back on that to focus on my own work. So that was a natural part of the evolution of my business. And that was quite deliberate, mostly around having a baby and just not having time to do lots and lots of live work. So think about, it might not be relevant for everyone, but definitely for some of you, think about the things you're saying no to. I think for Janina, this will be a good one because she is also can get caught up in saying yes to things that are very draining for her time and energy, like serving postnatally, serving prenatally, even attending births as a doula, where actually it's more effective for her to monetize group programs and things she can do on her own time schedule rather than trying to juggle childcare and everything around other people's time schedules. So that goal of what you're going to say no to would be helpful for you as well. Lucky last, I think, Annika.
Yes. Okay. So after this course, I would like to move my email list from Squarespace to Kajabi and have the tagging set up. 300 people for Mindful May, which I think would be pretty solid. It's a big number, but I think it can.
What have you had before? What were your previous numbers on that?
Like 250. And that's before COVID, So I'm like, no, I think we can find those people again and some more. And my website to be sales pages, not just Yeah, so like set up as sales pages, because they're set up as just information pages, not sales pages. So I would like to do that before the end of the course.
Can I just interject for one moment and talk about that, because this is useful for everybody. So Annika's website is beautiful, and I just went down the rabbit hole this morning of it was Mindful May. I started off looking at the Mindful May one. I was like, this is great, but it's just information. She's not selling it to me. She's not making it sound like super juicy. And then I started looking at some other pages, like her teacher training page, and they're not bad. Like, I'm not being critical here in any way, because they're great and they're effective and they're working because people are signing up. But I sort of identified, okay, these are information pages. They're not sales pages. And there's such a difference. And I just want to be really clear. Just because something's a sales page doesn't mean it has to be like cheesy or full of cliches or feel icky. Like, what it means is you're more interested in really conveying the energy of the thing than just the details of the thing. A really good example of this, and I'm not blowing my own trumpet now, it's just because I put so much freaking work into it. I'm really happy to just like put it out there as an example, is the sales page for my Bhakti club. So I had no idea how important sales pages were when I first launched Bhakti Rose, the online component of my business. I didn't even write my own sales pages. I got the person who did my Facebook ads for me at that time to write them, because I didn't get that they were important. I was like, I can't be bothered, like, can you do it for me, kind of thing. And she's a friend of mine. She's like, I can, but they're kind of important. And I was like, you'll do a great job. And they were fine. But then when I started to learn about how sales pages convert sales, I was like, oh, now I get it. And I went back and I rewrote all my sales pages and put like a lot of time into them. And you know this from your own behavior, right? When you buy something online, and all of us have bought online trainings, it's the sales page that gets you, right? It just makes it feel so alive and like the right fit for you. And then sometimes it really delivers on that, and you're like, yes, this was sold to me as this, and it really is this, and it's like wonderful. And sometimes it's disappointing. I mean, I'm sure you've all signed up for things where the sales page promises the earth and it feels so good, and then you get into doing the program and you're like, actually, you know what, this is pretty average. So I work really, really hard to make sure that I'm not making promises I can't deliver on. Like, if the sales page is really good, then the product itself is really good too. But you also don't want to undersell and like just have an information page instead of a sales page. So the thing with Bhakti Club, and I think the real point of difference for this sales page, is when I wrote that sales page, and I'm not joking, like it really did take me weeks, I really tapped into the energy of what it was I wanted to offer. Like, I didn't, if you go and look at it, it's Bhakti Rose /Bhakti Club. It's actually
it's massive.
It's actually really slim on details. I don't tell you what time the calls are going to be. I don't say we're going to do regular calls at this time, because I actually didn't even know, and I still don't know. I run it really organically. Like, we do things in Bhakti Club when I feel like it, basically, like when I'm inspired, when I've got something to say, when it feels ready, right? So it's very organic. So I didn't say, you know, you'll get 2 meditations a week and we'll do a call every Tuesday, and like none of that. It's really actually quite intangible. What I'm selling is community. I'm selling be in the space with us. I'm selling, let's have really juicy conversations. Let's read books together and hang out and talk about them and be really honest with one another. And they're all the things that Bhakti Club is. Like, when we have our live calls, they're so juicy and they're such good conversations, and everyone's so present and excited and on the same page. Like, we're all so aligned. And that's the other thing. When you write a really good sales page, what you do is you attract the perfect customer for you, because you're magnetizing it. Like, you're like, this is what I really want my world to be, and what I really want my work to offer. And the thing about writing a really good sales page is it will take you right to the edge of your comfort zone. Like, on the Bhakti Club sales page, there's a part where I talk about Kali, the goddess Kali, and the energy of Kali. And that for me, I honestly deleted and then re-uploaded that particular part of the sales page about 4 times because I was like, oh, it's too much. It's a bit wacky. People won't get it. Delete. No, it really represents what I want to do and what I'm trying to say and who I am now. Put it back up. Wake up in the morning the next day. Oh no, it's cringy. Yeah, like that. But and I ended up backing myself because it does like just lift me out of my comfort zone of being a little bit like more of a risk than I feel totally comfortable with. Honestly, I know for a fact because multiple people have told me that was the part of the offering that got them interested. That was the part where they went, oh wow, this looks a little bit different, this is interesting. They really feel it, you know. And these days we're moving towards, I don't know how much you guys know about this, but we're moving towards a world of AI. Like it's already very much in my world as an online business owner. Like Kajabi the other day, I created a webinar about birth, and then I set up some emails that I'll be sending out to people to remind them to come to the webinar. And the AI, the artificial intelligence within the back end of Kajabi, wrote the emails for me based on the sales page. It was creepy. And so I've then gone back in now and like massively edited them because I don't like the way it's done it. But I could have just clicked confirm and I wouldn't even have had to write, like a robot wrote the emails. So as we move into this world of AI, part of what is going to make what people are going to become interested in is your story, like what you bring, and no robot can ever write that, you know, your experience, like that story about Carly on my Bhakti Club sales page, like that's my story. It can't be manufactured or told by someone else. And so that's what people want. They want your stories. What it is that inspires you. Where are you struggling? What's your journey been? Why are you offering the things you're offering? And every new offering that you create also needs to be part of that story too. It's not just you create it. Never create something because you think it's what people want. It just doesn't ever work. Don't create it because it's what you think people want. Create it because there's a passion in you to share it. Because you're just like, this is so what I want to be doing with my time. So yeah, like definitely information is important and you have to give it. I mean, you know, the other side is a sales page. It doesn't tell you when is it, how much is it, how do I do it? Like you've got to have that information in there, of course. And a big one, how do I sign up? Like plenty of buttons of like click here. You'll notice on all my sales pages, there's multiple. But really it's the story and it's the vibe rather than just the information. So yeah, sorry to interject, but I think that's super helpful for everyone, not just you.
Yeah, it's so helpful. Thank you. I would love to, yeah, really get that done. More so, I guess, so I can have it done and be like, Katie, is this good now? Like before it's over. Yeah, and I understand the importance of it. And you know, May is 2 weeks away, so this needs to happen real soon. I would also love by the end of this course to have a yoga teacher training super draft. Like, yeah, that's the task I've been procrastinating on because that feels so fucking hard. But I know it's in here. It's somewhere. I have to get it out. Yes, that's by the end of this course. For the first year, I would like to be making a profit. That would be nice. I would like to be earning a salary as someone who works very hard within the business. That would be nice. $1,000 a week. I hope I'm worth that. My mortgage would love that. My family would love that. I would love one part-time employee. I would love social media help because I'm kind of good at it and I kind of hate it as well. I would like to not look at my phone. I would also like, yeah, have my own YTT by then and not be teaching any open classes. Yeah, so yeah, just teaching on yoga teacher trainings and retreats. That's enough for me. I think that will keep me inspired and still into it. But yeah, when I start teaching a lot of open classes, like it drains. It's really draining for me and my family. In 5 years, I would like a full-time manager. That's something I've always like someone full-time loves the space. And I always had problems with long-term goals because I always feel like I'm just stuck in the pits. Either the franchise option or the business is sold. It's one of those big things. It has to happen by the 5-year goal. I can't keep working like this. And I want to be traveling around Australia in a motorhome with my family. That would be nice too.
Yeah.
At some point in 5 years, maybe.
Can I throw a third option in there to sold or franchised, and just say that the business is so profit making and juicy that it almost can run itself with good management, and you can be traveling around Australia in your camper van with a successful business that's still running in Sydney, and you're just living on the profit. I'll tell you, it was that did you finish, Annika?
No. And I thought about this as well, but it just feels so fathom to me. It feels really fathom to me to be like chilling out in a motorhome and have a successful business that's running in the background. Like I can't even imagine it. So I was like, it has to franchise or sell. Like, yeah. No,
I think that third option is perfectly viable for you. I really do. I'm going to leave you with a story, and Nikki might remember. I don't know. It might be you. I think you might have already moved by then, but yeah, when we had the Jivamukti studio that was opposite Young Henry's, just off Enmore Road, you weren't around. You'd gone by then. Yeah, you won't remember. Okay, so I'm gonna leave you guys with a story today that is going to certainly inspire Annika, but I hope inspire all of you. So when I had Jivamukti studio in Sydney, and at some point we had 4 studios, but the main flagship store was in Newtown, just off Enmore Road, and it was a big space. We had this big warehouse space that was the main yoga studio, and then above it was another studio, like directly above, and then we had a couple of other big spaces. It was a huge building, one of which became a cafe. I subleased it to an amazing woman who had a vegan cafe. It was awesome. And another space that I never really quite got to work properly, that I sort of had a vision for it as being like a massage therapies, maybe Ayurvedic therapies, like a practitioner's space. I never quite got that to work. But there was a woman there who was a naturopath. Her name's Kirsten, who had a vision for a business, and she rented that space for me for a certain period of time. And she wanted to run a juice business / like herbal elixirs type thing, like making her own products to sell. And I am not kidding you. She spent, I think, probably 2 to 3 years while she was in that sphere of Jivamukti yoga and us all kind of building the business, trying to figure out exactly how this business was going to work. She did market stalls. She sold from the studio. She did one-to-one consults. She just couldn't quite make anything stick or quite make it work. And various times, I'm going to be completely honest, I would go to her and I'd be like, maybe you just need to think about doing something different. Like, she was paying me rent. I felt bad because she was paying me rent and it wasn't working. And I kind of lost faith in her, if I'm being completely honest. Like, not as a person. She was always very driven and very focused, but the business idea, I just couldn't see it working. And she tried so many different things. She had undying faith in this business. She was like, I am not giving up. And she had such a gentle energy. So that was the other thing. She wasn't pitta at all. She's just very gently persistent. Like, she just wouldn't give up. And she got further and further into debt. I remember she borrowed money off her dad. Like, it just wasn't happening for her. But she did not give up. She was so persistent. Anyway, long story short, she worked so hard. I sold the studio. She didn't give up on her business idea. Her business is now Orchard Street, which I know many of you will know. She's got, I think, 5 branches in Sydney. She makes a lot of money. They all have practices connected to them. She sells elixirs, she sells juices, she sells beautiful merchandise. Her company is super ethical. It's everything she envisioned. Like, it's literally, she did it. Like, she absolutely did it. And also, she now lives on a farm in rural New Zealand and hardly ever comes to Australia. Her and her family live off grid. They have an idyllic lifestyle. I mean, she's amazing. She's absolutely incredible. And she is wealthy, independently wealthy, self-made multimillionaire. So hats off to her. May we all follow that legacy. And something about there is, I mean, if you ever met her, she's just a gentle spirit. There's something about her persistence and her clarity of vision that just step by step by step by step, she just made it happen. And it's more than 10 years now. And I reckon, I don't know how long Orchard Street's been really popular, probably 4 or 5 years. I reckon it was a good 5 years before she really got traction. So yeah, everything is possible. Everything is possible. And it can be done, you know, it doesn't have to be that just because we have a successful, big profit-making business that we're stressed and overworked and, you know, that we have to choose one or the other. Like, she's the perfect example of a person who has everything, really. So I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you, ladies. I can't remember when our next session is. I think it's next week, so I will see you then. But I look forward to continuing the chat in the WhatsApp group. Feel free to keep emailing me. I'm loving all of our interactions. So yeah, thanks for being here. See you all soon.